Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the need to integrate libraries, online librarians, and information fluency into our online course offerings. We have three main goals for today. And these are the need to have embedded online library portals as part of our blended and online offerings in schools, some essential library resources that are, for the most part, free and really support online learner inquiry, and some key information fluency skills. So you may already be a librarian who is integrating their resources and skills and instruction into an online world. You may be someone who is a course designer, or you may just be a librarian whose school is currently moving toward a blended model, and maybe you're assessing whether your existing platforms are up to the task of serving your blended and online learners. Either way, we're going to touch on some key elements that we need to have in place as we move forward. So why are we doing this? Well, first of all, we need to have expanded options for our learners. As they are moving into more and more digital environments, we need to make sure that we are supporting them in independent inquiry, and so that they are able to function as those lifelong learners that we hope they will become. We also want to point out that there is research-based evidence that supports the extension of school library services into this online world as well. So of course, we all know that there are lots of different standards that support learning agility and the lifelong learner. And if you are running an online school, you really need help, and librarians can be excellent partners from the instructional design aspect of your courses through the design of inquiry and project-based assessment as well. And the organizations here on the screen are just a few of these that can give guidance as far as how information fluency skills can and should be integrated into your offerings. So first, let's look at some of the research. Some major studies in just the past few years really point out the need to integrate information fluency research and independent learning into everything we're doing at the high school level. The statistics that come out of these studies are somewhat surprising, because we tend to assume that students who are in this generation are part of the mythical digital natives. Of course, we know the digital native is sort of a myth, because just because of when they were born does not mean that students are necessarily savvy in the use of online tools and online search and integration. And these two studies, particularly the statistics you see on the screen, are from the various project information literacy studies out of University of Washington. We could see that students were bringing their high school research skills with them to college, but generally weren't making a lot of changes. And if you look at the percentages on the screen, you'll see they're somewhat troubling for us as educators, and we can see why we need to really be integrating these library information fluency skills way before our students get to college. Additional research that confirms this can be found in School Library Research Summarized. This was a project done by Professor Deb Cockle at Mansfield University in Pennsylvania. And if you go to the link there, I have turned this study, a study of studies, so to speak. It reviews over 30 library impact studies that show the direct correlations between strong library programs and student achievement. And the link on the screen will take you to an issue ebook version of that study. So when you think about librarians, who are we really? Well, if this is what you have in mind, please forget that old-fashioned image, because librarians really are your collaborators and partners. We are talented tech scouts. We're able to find resources at the right reading levels or at a variety to help you differentiate your course resources and offerings and suggestions to students for independent reading. We are tech scouts in that we go out, we use our own professional professional learning networks and vendor connections, not only to find resources, but creation and authoring tools for our students to use. And again, we are skilled at vetting and expert researchers and teachers of information fluency, inquiry, and research skills. And so we can be there to provide that just-in-time support that we need to help our students as they are moving forward. So we're going to take a look at what some high-quality online libraries look like. We'll take a look at a few examples, and we'll talk about some portals for curation and integrated instruction. We want to have integrated online library systems to meet the needs of faculty and students with a wide array of resources so that we are helping kids with their inquiry, their homework, their research needs. Sometimes our online offerings are more limited because we need to pack everything into the course room space, or because the content area teacher may simply not be aware of or have time to find the vast resources out there that go way beyond Google. And again, librarians are talented scouts. They can find the information sources and online tools for authoring, creation, and curation for all aspects of research. So we'll take a look at a couple online library environments. What you see here is an image of my particular school's, one of our main LibGuide screens, students. And LibGuides as well is very widely used. Here's an example for Capella University, my alma mater for my PhD. And Capella, like many universities, uses LibGuides as their main portal. And Capella's in particular is really well done because it integrates instruction that students need along the way. And of course, these are PhD students, and so the instruction is very well integrated. And again, that portal was LibGuides. This is just an example of the types of instruction that is integrated into the LibGuides at Capella. But as well, these tutorials and pieces of instruction are integrated directly into the course rooms at Capella as well, so that if a student is struggling with a particular skill, based upon how their professor scores their rubric, they are directed to the exact tutorial that they might need. Of course, when you have resources gathered, you want to make sure that they are integrated. So whether you are integrating tutorials and how to use various resources in a library portal or linking them to other spaces, you'll want to have these tie-ins. So here are just some examples of little pieces of information that linked into various spots across our LibGuides. Here's a guide that we have particularly for understanding statistics. So while this is a guide in its own right, it is also integrated into several of our math courses as well. There are lots of other portals that can be used. Wikispaces, of course, is very well known and gives free space to schools. And you can use a Wikispace. It's fairly robust, and you can add any types of information there that you need. Symbaloo is another very popular dashboard because it's a great jumping off point, and of course is very visually interesting using the thumbnail images so that our students can click directly on the certain resource that we want them to go to. Symbaloo is really a great way to organize things, particularly if you are in an environment with younger children. So, what are some of the essential resources that we want to be thinking about? Well, some of these include having some key reference sources, some content-specific resources, learning and creation tools, and then, of course, our information fluency and research instruction. So, from the references standpoint, some of the sources in particular not to miss would be iTools, which is the icon in the center of the screen there. iTools serves as sort of a one-stop reference source shop for you. There, of course, are many other digital collections as well. The Library of Congress, of course, is a huge, massive collection, and generally, I feel is sometimes overlooked by educators because we tend to think of it as only history-based. But there are so many collections here that are applicable to other content areas as well. The Smithsonian, in addition, is a digital collection not to miss. When they say they're seriously amazing, they mean it. Much of what's offered by the Smithsonian is so applicable to across the curriculum. And as you can see from the tabs at the top of the screen, there is a tab specific to educators, and there's an entire lesson portal there for teachers to use. Another digital collection not to be missed is the DPLA. This is the Digital Public Library of America. The DPLA has as its goal offering sort of a one-stop portal to gain access into all of these digital collections that we know are hidden in universities and state libraries across America. And so the DPLA has started out, it now has well over 8 million items available that you can search with one simple search screen, and it will take you not only to the portal, but it will allow you to view those objects in full right there on the screen. So we no longer have to have access to all of these specific collections. It is all searchable in one place in the DPLA. What's exciting about the DPLA is that they plan to continue to grow and not just have these large digital collections, but they are also making a move to collect digital images and scan images down to the tiniest neighborhoods in America. So stay tuned and keep your eye on what's going on with the DPLA because they're doing lots of exciting things. Some other collections that you should not overlook are things like the National Park Service. Of course, we're all familiar with the Park Service, but what you may not realize is that all of our federally funded services and groups also are required to have an educational outreach program. And the National Park Service does a great job with this, and in fact even offers its data sets from all the research done in the various national parks. The data sets are there, so you could use them in your math class, in your science class, and so on. Of course, the American Museum of Natural History, as well as any of the other large museums across America, also have huge educational branches and things that you can access right online. Project Gutenberg, kind of an oldie but goodie. It's been there from the early days of the internet. And don't forget, there's thousands and thousands of free ebooks there. Anything that is in the public domain, you can tap through Project Gutenberg. Don't forget that major public libraries also have a lot of excellent resources free for the taking right from their portals. In addition to these, you want to make sure that you're integrating a lot of these free, wonderful resources with content area resources as well. Whether these are free sites that you've collected or they are good partners to subscription databases that you have, you'll want to think about how you have these ordered into an online library setting. So here, for example, this is for a project we do with opposing viewpoints. You can see we obviously have our subscription databases there to Gale's Opposing Viewpoints and EBSCO, but then there's also an embedded video for writing an argumentative essay. So you want to think about the mixing of resources and instruction at the exact spot where students are going to need them. This is an example as well of a flip book that you can create. This is one done by one of our science teachers. It looks like a glossy magazine, but really it's a collection of 3 or 4 resources that this particular teacher wanted students to use, and so she collected them into this flip book, and they're right there for the students to use digitally on a phone, an iPad, and so on. Very easy to access the resources she wants them to have. Again, you'll want to also make sure that students have links to the learning and creation tools and apps that they need for their projects. So this is a page from a LibGuide that I've done on sustainability. And not only does it link to different books and ebooks in our library, the subscription databases that will help them, but as you can see on the right-hand column, there's also creation tools. Our students had to create a public service announcement, so we wanted to remind them which apps on the laptop they should be using, and then in addition, other free apps that they could tap for the project. Our students also are required to use survey tools, so we provide them links to all of the main survey tools that are free and available, along with specialized search engines like Wolfram Alpha. So again, each of these elements can be carefully designed in LibGuides to coordinate with other things that the students will need for that particular project. Here again, another example for a certain project is teacher wanted students to use Digo to keep their notes organized and then use Poplet to visualize with a mind map, a very simplistic mind map of how all of their information would fit together. And so on a particular LibGuide for that project, there was a little box that just had those particular tools that the students needed to use. In addition to those, we want to be embedding our information fluency and research instruction, whether it is just a box of information like what you see here. This is my example to students explaining the differences between reporting and research, or anything that we might create, whether it's a video tutorial and so on. They are all here for students to use. Another tool that I have begun using quite a bit in this past year is Tilde. And I use the Tilde portal to create instruction for my students because it's very fast authoring. And as you can see in the lower left-hand corner, there's a number 1. That for the students means this is just simply step number 1 of this lesson. And then step number 2, there may be an embedded video for them to watch, and so on. So when we're thinking about what types of information fluency skills and tools we need to integrate, we need to think about what are all the different things that we need them to learn. So everything from search skills and evaluation skills of the information they're finding. We want to be sure we're offering nonfiction reading scaffolds, documentation skills and tools, visualization scaffolds. In other words, how does my data and my information all fit together, and what kind of tools can I use to get that down? We also make sure we're embedding writing aids in the just-in-time kind of spot where our students will need them. And of course, presentation tools as well. Now, when we're thinking about all of this stuff, whether it's resources, instruction, and tools, we do have to think about how our students will access and navigate to these resources. And so this can be done in so many different ways. Here's an example from one of my online courses for information fluency and research skills. You can notice in the upper right there's a tab that says student resources that can actually just link them out to the certain LibGuides that they need. Okay, or some of the instruction is embedded right in this particular page, or they can go out to the LibGuide, and then again, the two can talk to one another. What you see here, that the green tab that says Senior Research Paper, is actually a course we developed in Moodle where all of our students, when they are doing their senior research project, they work from this one particular spot. So notice one of the top boxes there in red takes them to the 4 main portals that they will need. It's our research process LibGuide, our subject LibGuides where they get to all the databases and so on, Noodle tools where they're documenting everything, and of course the Google Advanced search link to take them out to just Google Advanced, because we don't want them wasting their time with plain Google. In addition, directly beneath that, the next box contains my Google Voice number, so that as they are working independently any hour of the day, they can use that number and it will actually ring on my personal phone. So the students use my Google Voice to either text me or leave a voice message. I get the text on my phone, and then I can reply to them through Google Voice. So the students are able to contact me, but they are not using my personal phone number, using these kind of tools allows me to really provide just-in-time connection to students, and there's a lot of synergy then between our platforms, whether it's my LibGuides and our Moodle pages. The synergy exists for the students. So, and there again, on the LibGuides, the same thing. That's our Google Voice number so that they can contact me whenever they need to. So there's a lot of consistency across whatever platforms we have things for our students. Again, presenting our advanced search skills. This is a page from Moodle where there's always a little introduction to what the particular skill is, and then what essential questions they have to know and understand before they begin the activities, or that should be answered through the activities rather. Here's a shot of one of my Moodle courses. I have an advanced research course for some of my seniors, and using Tilde, I've embedded all of their particular lessons, and this was the format for the course this year, and I used a badging system for them, and so they can work independently to earn their badges at. Here's one of the advanced skills they need, proving that they know how to use all of the Google resources, which would include using the limiters in Google Advanced, using Google Books, and using Google Scholar. And then as they go through those activities, then if they earn their Google badge. And so again, there's good synergy between all of my platforms for students. This is another exercise on curation. And so where it says for this exercise, you're creating a Scoop It account, it says do the curation exercise. So all our students have to do is click on the words curation exercise. It takes them out to a Tilde lesson. They follow the instructions and then post their answers right here in this little course room. And Twitter for Research, that's another badge that they earn along the way. And then our students can see their badges, of course, as they are moving through their skill sets. Our plan for next year is to move some of our students directly into this process using this particular course I developed this year. It will become a qualifier for senior research paper. In other words, rather than embedding more instruction into the research paper process and lengthening it, we'd like to shorten the research paper process by having students independently prove their research skills before they qualify to write a senior paper. So that's our current experiment for 2015-16, so we'll see how that turns out. Evaluation skills, that's another whole area of instruction we need to think about and how well we're helping kids judge the information that's out there. And there are many ways we can do that, but again, our portals all have to be consistent and coincide with one another very well. Here you just see one of our organizers for students. We use the CRAP evaluation for currency, reliability, authority, and purpose point of view. These are some of the questions the students have to answer, and this is well embedded from 9th grade on, so by the time our students are seniors, they know for every free website, in other words, stuff they just get through Google, they know they will have to fill one of these forms out to prove that they have thoroughly vetted any websites that they use for their research paper. Obviously, nonfiction reading support is another area that we need to think about supporting our kids online. And so here is a lesson I've done, strategic reading for topic analysis. And again, the students simply click the words for the exercise. It takes them out to a Tilde exercise and they work their way through it. And then they come back and prove their knowledge this is part of our Moodle course room. Some other ways that we support nonfiction reading as well as information fluency skills is by creating quick infographics. So this is an infographic I developed using Easily. This is one of their templates. It's very simple to use, but our kids were really struggling with how to read a scholarly article. And so I designed this little step-by-step of the main important parts to read for the scholarly article, what order they should do it in, and why. So the little signposts along the way tell them what's significant about each part of a journal article. Once this was created, it could be shared out to students, whether in print. It's on my LibGuides, and there you can see on the right-hand side there's a little box where it's actually embedded into the senior research paper Moodle course as well. So again, we're having that synergy between all of our platforms. Same with documentation skills. We make sure that our students always have access to Noodle Tools, which is the current tool that we use, no matter what portal they are in, and that they understand how to document and why. The other piece that's always important is helping our kids be ethical users of information, and so make sure again that they understand Creative Commons, how to find Creative Commons images and sounds and so on, and how to use them. Visualization, as I said, is another piece of it, and reflection skills. And so you'll see graphic organizers like this embedded on our LibGuides, embedded in our Moodle pages, and so on, because we want our kids to be able to organize and understand what it is that they are researching. Thesis writing, of course, is another area of writing skills and support, whether we're helping them understand the 5 thesis tests and applying them to their own work, or we are creating a 5-paragraph essay. So there's a tiny little box that appears on most of my LibGuides as a way for students to just be reminded of what their teacher is expecting for that particular assignment. Presentation tools and skills, again, we want to make sure that we're giving kids a variety of tools, but also ideas of how they could use them for their own presentations in class, so that they move beyond the typical PowerPoints and so on. We want them to be very skilled with different presentation tools and skills, so that when they move into the workplace or onto college, they have it down pat. So, how do we go about this then? Once we have begun developing our virtual libraries, how do we embed these with other online environments? Well, these can be done very simply. Many of those examples that I just showed you are done simply by linking from one portal to the other, but others of them are done through embedding. And one of the beauties of a tool like LibGuides for an online library space is that you can grab the embed code for any of the boxes you create, and you can actually embed that box specifically by itself into a Moodle page or a Schoology page or a Blackboard page, anything like that at all. So LibGuides is such a robust portal and really allows you to branch out and put your stuff everywhere you want it. And within an online course room, there are 2 levels. There's sort of the micro and the macro level heading. So here's an example of simple links, as I said, in the little red box there at the top. And again, links off to the side under student resources. So there's lots of different ways we do that. It's plain linking. But we can also embed. So for example, on our Moodle page, we could just have one large main platform that serves the entire learning management. So for us, there are links to our LibGuides that everybody can get to, and every teacher links to the subject-specific LibGuides in their Moodle pages as well for their online courses. Or you can go into individual guides and pages that serve individual courses. As I just mentioned, everything can be embedded. And those specific learning objects, whether it's a tilde lesson or a LibGuides box, can be embedded right into specific online course units. And so it's very easy for librarians to now embed their resources, their instruction, and themselves right into the spaces where our kids need us most. So at the next level, some of the things that we need to do is starting those conversations. Whether you're an online teacher or a school librarian or an administrator or a designer of online spaces, conversations need to happen and collaborations need to be built, kind of move people forward, because it's kind of pointless to develop an online space and not have it be fully integrated with everything else going on in the school, because it just makes sense and it's what's right for kids. There's also some areas for new research. So again, if we're starting these collaborations, we want to think about involving our stakeholders, bringing librarians into the instructional design teams, and leveraging our skills for search, instruction, and resource evaluation to help our teachers find what's appropriate for the targeted learners. Librarians can really help you personalize for individual learners and can also be part of the discussion of how to make the branding consistent. Whether you use Schoology or Canvas or Moodle or Blackboard for your online spaces, how do you make the branding consistent between that and what the library do, say, in their LibGuides? All of that's so important to help learners navigate, and that's their ability to work independently in these environments really depends upon that. And so you want to really consider, if you are a librarian, how you can really push your role as a learning facilitator in your schools. So, and moving forward, how do we assess what we're doing? How do we continually update our library portals? It's a huge challenge and can be an online job that is constantly, every day. You could be working at it full time. How are our resources integrated? Because ultimately we're judged by how our instructional designs and the overall usability of these spaces really meets the needs of the learners we serve. So for new research in the field, as I mentioned, there's lots of different pieces of research that need to happen. So for those of you interested in action research or more formal research, these are some areas that we really need to look at, such as pre-service teacher and librarian education, to make sure that the teachers especially, to make sure that they really understand information fluency skills and have them themselves, and working with librarians on how to improve that. We could be looking at how well we are using any process-oriented scaffolding systems, because there are a lot of them out there. Their numbers are increasing every year. ProQuest has a research scaffold system. I'm trying to think. I think Noodle Tools is developing one as well, and EasyBib has one as well. I think theirs is called Research Ready. So we should think about how do those automated systems work with our schools. Are they okay as standalones, or can they be embedded into what we do? Some of the other things we should look at include best practices for connecting our online learners and our brick and mortar learners globally, so that we are giving them more authentic and collaborative research experience. And remember, ultimately, our goal is what's in it for me. So as if you are a developer, integrating a librarian and an online library can only benefit your students. What's in it for the students, again, is independent inquiry, lifelong learning skills, and so on. So everything that we do, we should always have this as our framework in mind. So thank you so much for your kind attention. Please feel free to contact me anytime if you'd like more information about online libraries and integrating online library resources into your online spaces. Thanks.